What if I told you of the burial cloth of one of the most important leaders in all of human history? So the Shroud of Turin is a burial cloth that's 14 by 3 feet wide. Many believe that this shroud is the actual burial cloth of Jesus Christ. I've been studying the shroud, I guess, most of my life. I went to a Catholic elementary school and a Catholic high school where I studied theology, and a lot of those classes talked about the shroud itself and a lot of the properties surrounding it. I think even if you're not religious, this has a lot of relevance just because it's the most studied artifact in human history, which makes it extremely important, and obviously its significance also makes it extremely important. So today I'll just talk about the history behind the shroud, some controversy surrounding it, and then lastly I'm just going to talk about the importance for us as humans. So first of all, the history of the shroud. So the Shroud of Turin was originally found in France in the 12th century. We first see mention of it actually in the Bible. Joseph, Jesus' dad, actually took Jesus down from the cross, and we see the quote, he brought a linen cloth, took down the body, wrapped it in linen, and placed it in the tomb. That's in Mark chapter 15, verse 46. This is the first mention of the shroud in the Gospels, obviously. It's mentioned in all the other Gospels too. But this first mention of it reassures that it existed and it was linen and that it wrapped Jesus fully. Fast forward, we actually don't have any information about it from the Bible until the 12th century. So there's a gap in time where we don't really know. We have theories. We don't know exactly where the shroud was and how it ended up in France. This adds to some of the mystery surrounding it, and it makes it a little bit more interesting. So now let's talk about a little bit about the controversy surrounding the shroud. So the shroud was famously dated to the medieval times by its first study. So in 1988, the University of Arizona, led by Paul Damon, concluded that the linen from the Shroud of Turin is medieval. So this study basically took a sample of the cloth and carbon dated it. They carbon dated just one sample, and they dated it to medieval times, which was way past the time of Jesus. So they actually claimed that this was a medieval forgery, and it wasn't actually anything significant. Other studies have been done on the shroud, like this one done by Dr. Liberto De Cero, who's a scientist, and he said, analysis of the flax cellulose degradation using wide-angle X-ray scattering supports the hypothesis that the shroud dates back to the 1st century. So this study actually suggests that the shroud is in Jesus' time and meant in Jesus' time. This study uses X-rays, so it gets cellulose. So cellulose decomposing over time actually shows a date. So we're able to see from the beginning to now how much that has decomposed and put a date to it. So that's what the study looked at, and that's how they got that date. A lot of people, I guess the date has a lot of controversy surrounding it. Many people think that the first study took like a contaminated sample from the shroud, and that gave them a false date. This is, I guess, reassured and backed up by the shroud's path to its current place. It's been through fires, it's been through rips and tears, and it's had to be replaced many times, which makes it contaminated in some sense. So that does have some validity to it. So another controversy surrounding it is the actual image of the man, I guess, on the shroud. So according to a research team led by Paulo Di Lazzaro, the image appears to be the result of a unique process not yet fully understood by modern science. So the scientist says this because the image itself is a photonegative. So the light parts are actually dark and the dark parts are actually light. So when it's photographed, you're able to see it much more clearly than you would in like real life, which makes it extremely interesting. There's no dyes, there's no coloring, there's no chemical process that created this image, and it's still like some scientists how it was created. That's like the biggest mystery around the shroud because no one still knows. One of my favorite theories, I guess, is that it was the result of a short burst of light. Some scientists claim that actually, and it lines up with the biblical narrative of the resurrection, where God says Jesus rose to the heavens in a short burst of light. This it says enough, if with enough energy, this short burst of light could almost act as like a photograph, ingraining the linen with an actual image. The image is super high resolution, so we're able to see the actual wounds in his 2 arms, and the wounds in the legs, and then the wounds in the side, which align perfectly with the biblical narrative of a crucifixion and a traditional Roman crucifixion specifically, which is extremely interesting. So now that we talked about some of the controversy surrounding it, we'll lastly talk about what it means for us as humans. So like I said, it's the most studied artifact in human history, which makes it extremely important and extremely relevant. It's important, I think, in our world to find truth in things and to intertwine science and religion, because they do go hand in hand, which is contrary to what most people believe. I think that finding truth is extremely important, and I think that the Shroud of Turin gets us a little bit closer to asking good questions about our faith, good questions about humanity in general, and good questions about science.